Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And so it is that in the month preceding that harvest and Sabbath, the Shade, that malignant keeper of lore, ventures into the world of man to collect new tales. Failing to find any of merit, he twists the bonds of fate to create his own, leaving gourds carved with grotesque images of the unfolded events. Nicholas Stant, Unusual Folklore.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com. And tonight we are going to delve into the Mythoverse. Now, I have seen lots of references to the Mythoverse over the past couple of years. And now I'm starting to see more and more activity for this Hallowed Harvest special, which obviously it's a Halloween book. I know nothing about the Mythoverse. So if you know nothing about the Mythoverse, then you and I are going to learn stuff together tonight. And if you do know stuff about the Mythoverse, you can sit back and feel smug and say, this guy's such an idiot, which won't bother me at all because I'm really quite used to that. So joining us tonight, we have Mr. James Stern from the Mythoverse. James, how are you, sir?
Hi, I am doing as well as can be after working a busy day.
Oh, this is, gosh, what did I went grocery shopping at 3 different places today. That pretty much takes up the bulk of the day because the dry goods have to be bought someplace, and then the cold stuff somewhere else, and then the sale stuff in a third place. I'm like, really? But food's food. Get it where you can get it cheapest, I guess.
Yep.
So first of all, what is your connection to comics? And let's welcome Mr. Nebel or Ms. Nebel.
Yo, Mr.
Howdly doodly.
How
It's me,
doing?
Nebel. Doing okay. How are you?
We're just starting the show and trying to find out from James here, what your history of comics is. Not when did Mythoverse start, but when did you get into becoming a reader and realizing that this was what you wanted to do?
So, geez. Honestly, never really was much of a comic person. When I was in elementary or middle school, I picked up the Secret of the Swamp Thing graphic novel, and that was really the only comic I'd ever read until I hit high school, and then I got Dark Knight Returns. Is that the really famous one?
Yes.
And then it wasn't. I think it was Batman Law. It wasn't Long Halloween. Dark Victory was the other one I got. I got them as part of a combo pack. But still, even after that, I never really read too many comics. I actually started reading a lot more once I got involved with the Mythoverse. Is when I started expanding out a little bit. Still haven't read much from Big Two. It's mostly been indie stuff.
Well, you were off to a good start with all of those. So those were some of the best to get into. Neville, what about you?
My first foray into comics, I guess it depends on whether you want my very, 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 very first or the first time I started I guess I'll just go with all of it. So very, very first foray into comics was when my dad bought, I think this is back like the late 90s, the early aughts, where they were making these these compilations of classic Marvel books, like the old 60s runs of stuff like of Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. And my dad started buying those, and he'd keep them in his car when I'd visit him on weekends. And I'd be reading those in his car when we drive around from place to place. And I thought those were really cool. And I actually distinctly remember thinking when I was a little kid, when watching the old like Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty close to the book. Because I had a mom who is very, very big on like book accuracy when it comes to movies. And every so often when we'd watch a movie, she's like, that's not in the book. Yeah. That's not in the book either. They're missing this thing from the book. So I got very conscious about that.
I have an ex-wife who is that way, specifically with Stephen King.
Oh, my goodness. The kinds of things that get changed from Stephen King books to movies are like, some of them are like, you kind of missed the point. And some of them are like, you know what? Maybe we didn't need the child orgy in it. Maybe we could do without that in the movie.
Edit that one out. Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't a huge Stephen King reader, so it's like this was my first wife. I've moved on. But we walked out of The Running Man, and I'm like 18. I was like, yeah, that was fantastic. And she's like, what the did we just watch? That's not The Running Man at all.
No, yeah.
Yeah, but when I was buying comics, especially as a teenager, there was always the old guy who was like, I used to buy comics for a nickel. And I've realized as the more and more I interview you guys, I've become that guy.
Back in my day, there were a buck or two.
A buck or two, 35 cents.
Oh, wow. I'm showing my youth right now.
I was getting comics in the early to mid 70s.
Wow.
So, yeah, my barbershop, growing up in Sparta, Illinois, they were printed there. Every one of them, Marvel, DC, every comic in the world originated in Sparta. So There were no shops, but everybody brought home the print overruns, like working at the bakery. You take home the day old stuff at the end of the day. So people were it was yard sales. And if you knew somebody that worked there, they all had a room in their house. Like, yeah, here, go get what you want. So it was, if you knew somebody and you were into comics, you were in.
Nice.
And I was into comics, and I was in. So, but yeah, 35-cent covers. Pick up a book, just start reading it. Doesn't matter what happened before. Doesn't matter if it ends on a cliffhanger. You still got a full story out of the whole thing.
It was a quarter and a dime, so you got your money's worth.
Exactly. My God, I remember when it got all the way up to 75 cents. I was like, boy, one of these days I'm going to have to quit reading. But so at some point though, you decided these things look so good, you wanted to make some yourself.
Eventually, I did, yeah. Although it's a very long, gradual process of me reading a bunch of them, because at some point after tiny Babby Neville is flipping through old 60s Spider-Man and Fantastic Four books, I eventually get whiff of the first Civil War book, and teenage edgelord Neville was completely blown away by the mere concept of Civil War. Older me looks back at it, it's like, it's not my favorite. There's way better books out there.
Oh yeah, and the idea oh my God, they have to give it. Okay, yeah. So young you were looking at Civil War and saying, the government's going to make them take off their masks and redo
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, Captain America's against the government, man. Whoa.
Yeah, I'd read Roy Thomas do the whole Justice Society, America versus the Justice Society. It's like, yeah, that's the McCarthy hearings, and the Justice Society was disbanded because they were told to mask off, and it's like, and they quit. So
yeah, it's just that same thing with different coloring and rendering, and with Marvel characters.
Different characters. James, what about you? What made you decide that you wanted to make these things when you didn't even read that many of them?
It started with insomnia. So honestly, the thing that got me both more into comics and into producing comics was my involvement with the Mythoverse. So I backed their original campaign for the 3 launch comics: Adobe Kroger, Dame Commander, Mythics, and Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale. From there, I was invited to their Discord server, and I hung out, was fairly active, and then at one point during that, I was suffering from insomnia. I had a really hard time falling asleep. And so I figured, well, instead of spending that time gaming and probably not helping the insomnia, I'll sit down and I'll try and sketch some stuff, see if I can improve my drawing ability. And while I eventually stopped that, the couple things I sketched out formed the basis of a comic idea I'd eventually pitched to the administrators at the Mythoverse, and they took me in, and from there I started slowly producing some stuff.
I actually remember you showing me a lot of those.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the Mythoverse? Is it a shared universe kind of deal, or is it an imprint?
So Mythoverse Comics is a shared comics universe that draws very heavily from a lot of the Western mythologies. There's a little bit of the Eastern, but it's primarily Western. So it pulls from the Christian tradition. That's going to be like Adobe Kroger. There's stuff that pulls from the Gaelic and Celtic mythologies, and that's Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale. Eventually, I'm going to be putting out a line that's based a lot on Greek mythology. And the idea is, let's take these old myths and pretend they're real and see what happens in the modern day. And there's more to that. Part of the core tenet, or one of like the core themes and sentiments in the Mythoverse, is a culture's history and the stories that are valued are very important and should be preserved and celebrated to an extent, or to an appropriate extent. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We're celebrating the mythologies that have kind of formed the foundation of our culture.
So we've gone from clay tablets of Gilgamesh from Mesopotamia to comic books.
Yes.
Oh, and all kinds of other things.
Oh, yes. There's fun times.
What kinds of other things are we talking about here, Nibble?
Oh, my. So this is just speaking to the kinds of stories that I've written for Mythoverse, but the things that I often find myself drawing from tends to be like sort of modern mythology more than, or like kind of modern weird iconography. Like, and one of the books that I'm going to be doing draws a lot from Cold War, combining Cold War conspiracies with Hermetic alchemy, which is, yeah, that's a kind of that's a little bit of a tease for what might be coming later in the Mythoverse.
So not necessarily a mythological creature, but more of a mythological level of an event.
Yeah, mythological concepts more than anything else.
Okay, I thought when you said modern mythology, I thought you were going to put in things like Sasquatch and the Montauk monster that washed up on the beaches.
Oh well, things like that might come up. I actually did a little. I kind of made a script for a little gag comic for Mythoverse that involves. You ever heard of the Fresno Nightcrawler?
No, that's a new one. And I try to keep up on these things.
All right, so the Fresno Nightcrawler, it mostly makes the rounds because it's a really goofy looking creature. It's basically a pair of legs with a head. And some people catch them on like infrared found footage where they're kind of walking around and they look kind of funny. And one of the at least one case of it has been proved to be fraudulent, that somebody set up somebody set up a puppet rig with a pair of pants and had it like stalk somebody's backyard. No, I love finding these kinds of weird real life stories because they're great fodder for other stories.
Have you been paying attention to the 656 crew and their book, The Cryptidnals?
Oh, I have not. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, well, it's cryptids, and they're like kind of banded together to face down other cryptids who would expose them, that kind of thing. But
Nice.
one of their writers was telling them, about real life encounter with La Llorona.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he has a childhood encounter that he remembers very vividly that he brings up during the interview we had with them. I don't think he brings up on every interview, but when I find out people are into cryptids, I'm like, okay, we're going to find something tonight, or we're going to at least talk about it forever.
Oh yes.
So with the Mythoverse, do you have since you got so many varied platforms, you different mythologies, do you have a set of core characters that people can anchor to when they go explore all these different mythologies, or is it more of an anthology kind of mythology anthology?
So there's the best way I can describe it is the Mythoverse, in addition to being this universe, is also kind of a brand, in that there's a bunch of comic lines that go under it. So you have Adobe Kroger Dame Commander, which is about a holy knight in modern day trying to deal with paranormal nonsense and keep a lid on it. And that's one comic line. And so the main character of that is Adobe Kroger.
Okay.
Then there's Mythics, which follows a floundering writer and also magical protege named Maria Althea Fletcher, as she tries to investigate some paranormal happenings. It's a little less action focused, a little bit more lore focused than Adobe Kroger, but like that line has Althea. And then you have Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale, which follows Maeve Mackenzie, as she deals with finding out she's not human. She's actually a changeling kid. And the ramifications of that and how that affects her identity and her belief structure.
Okay, I've seen Adobe Kroger mentioned, and I have no idea that was a person's name. Every time I see it, I'm like, why would somebody make a grocery store out of a pueblo? So I'm totally unfamiliar with that as being some, obviously Kroger's probably somebody's name. They named the chain of grocery stores after them.
Oh yes.
But Adobe as a person's name was like, I don't see that, but I guess you could. So I don't know how you even come up with that name there, but.
Well, we didn't.
Dan Sakharov, the editor-in-chief at the Mythoverse, writes Adobe Kroger Dame Commander.
Blame it on him. Okay.
Yes. Well, the thing that he always says when he's asked about the name is like, well, you remembered it, didn't you?
Yep.
Yes.
There you go. But yeah, with Mythoverse stories, while Maeve, Adobe, and Althea may not necessarily appear in every single story, there's a bunch of like core concepts and core ideas that might pop up. Like, for example, the Paladins, the organization that Adobe is a part of, they have this far-reaching conspiratorial sort of expansion across the globe. Basically anywhere that Catholicism like dipped its toes, they're in. So they have a tendency to get involved, even if the main character, Adobe herself, may not be involved. The Paladins might show up. or Faye might show up, even though Maeve isn't there at the moment.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's kind of like Thor and the Punisher might not necessarily meet up with each other all that often, but they definitely might run into S.H.I.E.L.D.
I got it. So with Hallowed Harvest, is that its own standalone thing, or is that a little bit of each of the Mythoverse slices?
So it's kind of its own thing. So Hallowed Harvest is an anthology, straight up. It's a collection of disparate stories that might interweave a little bit, but beyond all taking place in the Mythoverse, there's not necessarily any connections.
Okay.
And that's another thing. I don't know if it was made clear, but like Mythoverse, all of the mainline comics that are produced for it, so Adobe Kroger, Changeling, Mythics, those are all Hallowed Harvest. Unless explicitly stated otherwise, the stories are all canon in universe. They're all things that happened in that universe. So going into Hallowed Harvest, it is an anthology. It's got work from a bunch of different creators. It's a bunch of different stories covering a bunch of different topics. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah. Well, just looking at the images that I saw both in the video and what we've got here, we've got a very strategically placed man's hairline covering something up there. And then we've got, the eyeball. And when I saw that image, that close-up image of like fingers protruding out from behind an eyeball, I'm like, that is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. And I can't.
Thanks, Neville, for that.
I thank you, sir. You pay me the highest compliment.
That was like, if you saw that in a movie, that would stand out. It's like, what the did I just see? So I'm going to ask, if this was a Marmalade interview, he would say, am I old enough to read this book?
18 plus for sure.
18 plus for sure. So that man's head is likely to move.
I give it, if it were a video game, I'd say R. It's not 18 plus. It's like 17 plus, I'd say.
Okay. So
it's 12 plus if your kid's sneaking behind your back.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, possibly might be some nudity, possibly some gore, but nothing that's going to this is all we exist for here.
Yes, there is nudity and gore, but it's not like the only thing that's there.
And besides it, she's obviously a fairy. It's okay when fairies are naked. It doesn't count.
Let's roll that back a little bit.
Oh, if you could see the grin on my face.
Yeah, let's roll that back a bit. If you're referencing Maeve, it is a child character.
Oh wait, no. With the antlers coming out of her head.
Oh, you're talking about that. Oh, that's a witch.
Yeah.
That's a witch. Okay, sorry.
Oh. Womp womp. Wait, Jay.
He just said Faye. I know that's a witch, so that's why I was confused.
Okay.
I will admit I messed up there.
All right. Anyway, but yeah, this one gets pretty intense. So the first entry of Hallowed Harvest kind of had sort of a mix of tones. Like you got something that ranged from you got some fairly wholesome stuff, like you got some action adventure stuff, and then you had what I wrote, which has variously been described as concentrated visual trauma.
Ambush art.
Ambush art is the term that my editor-in-chief likes to use, and I've come to love it. Because the way he describes it, he says that my art style is very cute, and then the horrible things start happening.
Yes. That's that would be like the character here in the middle of the image.
That's mine.
Yep.
Okay, I can see that. And hopefully don't let anything bad happen to the Halloween kid here. I can tell. I'm guessing she's supposed to be wearing a costume because I do see hair kind of sticking out from what would be a wrap over hoodie here. And she's making eyes with the witch that's forgot her costume. So
She is the costume.
Yeah, okay. and then you got the two thoughtful guys over here, like, nobody's knocking on my door for Halloween this year. So I'm not even going to ask who they are because we want to move on to the stories here. We'll meet them in the stories.
That's right.
Yes.
This is not Green Arrow. This is
Nope.
I'm seeing the antlers, so I'm guessing it's that same witch kind of character, or it will be her story at some point.
So actually, no. That is the Samhain Shade. He is the mascot for the Hallowed Harvest line, and he is also an entity within the Mythoverse. He embodies the spirit of storytelling, particularly when it comes to the Halloween season. And he has some fun mechanics in universe. Tell him a story or your life becomes a horror story is basically what it boils down to.
I got it. Let's say you have all these names here. You went out and bought everything Brian Froud ever published, didn't you? And then read it. He does encyclopedias of fairy. And when I say fairy, by the way, I'm pronouncing it with an Faerie.
Oh, we are too.
So that's the only way to do it.
That's right.
And it just stuck in my head that way because I do have a fairy story that I've been working on and off for a number of years now. And story of my life, unfinished stories. That's going on my tombstone. I'm not finished yet.
Not now. I'm too busy.
Yeah, I'm going to finish this someday. So I saw this picture earlier, and this is in issue 2, or this second issue, My Best Worst Halloween. I love this Edvard Munch take.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This just screams Halloween, and yet it's like it's fresh and it's new. It's like so. Tell us about Ginger Foxy.
So Ginger Foxy is the colorist for Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale. And so my best worst Halloween is her telling a story using the character from that book. So I need to explain a little bit of context from Changeling to make my best worst Halloween make sense. So I already said Maeve Mackenzie is a teenager who just found out she's not human. And so shortly following that, she is forced to go trick-or-treating with, I think it's her little cousin. And so in addition to trying to sort some of the stuff in her head during this spooky season, she has to deal with some Halloween hijinks. And so it's a nice, lighthearted, wholesome story. It's going to be the palate cleanser because the rest of the stories are not nice.
Here, let's have some candy before we punch you in the gut.
Exactly.
Okay.
Why stop there?
Yeah. And then up and down. And second story, I Burn with Hatred. Dylan Fagan, who's done some other things for you here, the Narratus Mythologica. Ooh.
Yes.
I do like the sound of that. So this is going to take place, a few hundred years ago.
Yeah. So, I Burn with Hatred is, I guess the best way to describe it is a prelude to revenge. So the context is the author Dylan is going to be doing a comic called Roses and Blood for the Mythoverse. And so the main character in that is on a revenge quest. And this story is meant to provide the impetus for that. And oh my, is it an impetus? It is easily, I think, the darkest tonally out of any of the stories. It is quite brutal. A vampire basically singles out a woman and decides he wants to ruin her life and her afterlife.
Oh, well. So is this the vampire that starts out here? Grousing and peeing on the wall and...
vampire stuff.
I will leave the interpretation of the images that are there.
Okay. So he's taking people out with no mercy. So And it doesn't.
Absolutely none.
Oh,
Yeah.
and he's hungry for moms and babies too.
Actually,
vampires.
that's a little girl and her baby brother.
Well, I can't tell little girls and
Yeah, it's hard. At first it took me a while. Like I had to read the entire thing like twice to realize that that's a kid.
Okay. Well, you get the anime kind of cutesy art. Like, I have no idea what I'm looking at now. I'll just, as long as they don't say that they are, then I'll take everything as being grown up or not grown ups. I'm on one screen tonight, so I'm kind of messed up with scrolling here.
That's fine. Those are all the tiers. We can discuss those later.
Because Kickstarter's never kind to me when it comes to scrolling through the tiers. Okay, now this is not nice right here. This is an anthology, and we're getting a part 2 of something that began somewhere else. Come on.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you back this, you'll be guaranteed a digital copy of the first one, so you can read the first part.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you'll be able to access it.
I would say the only way that's forgivable is if the first part was in the previous anthology. And it's like, hey,
yes, this is it. 100% was. Good. It was in the previous copy, and in backing this, if you back any of the actual reward tiers where you get Volume 2, you will receive at least a digital copy of Volume 1.
Excellent. So this is there's no preview art on this one, but that's okay.
There's not any included art with the story. It's strictly a prose piece.
Oh, so this is a mixed media kind of anthology.
Yes.
Yep.
I did.
The first one was also mixed media.
Okay.
Blackfire Covenant was also a prose story that was included in Hallowed Harvest #1, which followed a character trying to save his friend from a kind of Gaelic pagan cult. And part 2 is the follow-up of him disrupting a Gaelic pagan ritual and all the fun that comes with that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Well, when you're Gaelic in the 21st century, the jokes write themselves.
Oh, yeah. French Gaelic.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. So what Dylan described is the that's what part 1 is. So part 2 is dealing with the aftermath.
Dylan, James, come on, man.
Did I say Dylan?
You have.
It's because I was scrolling through the Discord and seeing what's going on with Dylan, so it's fine.
We're not entertaining enough for him. He's got to go, multitask.
Well, it's multitasking because project management.
Yes.
But anyways, so part 2 is dealing with the aftermath of taking this friend that he saved from this ritual. He now has to protect her at a hospital against spooky incursion.
Oh, that's an ongoing story that you just get a chapter a year in. Has it been a year since the last one?
Yeah.
Just about, yeah.
Okay, that'll work. Jungle of Ghosts, and it's a ghost story about Tautamona. I'm hoping
that's right. That is how you pronounce it, roughly.
I
don't worry, but
I'm going to go with Tao on that one, or Dao.
Yeah.
Tautamona.
It is not Chinese, so you made the right first choice.
Okay.
So you mind if I field this one, James?
Your story.
All right. Jungle of Ghosts is my story, and it starts off with a kind of a camp, like the tail end of a family beach trip on Guam. And they're having fun around a campfire, telling ghost stories. And the youngest one there, his name's Tony, he brings up, he starts talking about the Tautamona, which is a particular kind of ancestor spirit that's local lore to the Chamorro people of the Mariana Islands. And right before he starts getting into his story, he starts hearing voices and wanders into the jungle. And only good things happen from there.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
When you wander into the jungle, you find, houses made of gingerbread and
yeah,
people help you, and
and the voices in your head are surely friendly.
Always.
Always, yeah. No, and don't mind the eyeball grabbing. They may or may not do.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, well, you know,
that's fine.
voices in your head are generally inside of bodies that are in your head, so
Yeah, it's just
they've got to come out.
yeah, somehow. But yeah, Jungle of Ghosts draws a lot from native Chamorro mythology, as I mentioned. It's a particular kind of Pacific Islander group that people don't really know much about, mostly because there aren't a whole lot of them.
No, well, the Romans and Greeks, they had the best marketing.
They had pretty good marketing, and they got some good stuff. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
but yeah, this is something more.
Very like among you guys. I mean, does everybody have like their own? It's like, this is the kind of mythology I'm really good at. If you're going to do one of these, come to me. I know all the stuff about it. Or is it just like you go to thrift stores and used bookstores, like, ooh, here's a mythology thing I've never heard of before?
It's a little bit of both. Like, everybody has their own kind of interest that they'll like really, really dig into. The Chamorro mythology was something that I picked up because I'm actually part Chamorro, so I've heard these stories growing up as a kid. So this is something drawing from personal experience with this story. Although I do have other kinds of mythology and lore that I'm kind of especially fascinated by and specialize in, and you could come to me to ask about.
Well, I'm going to have to come to you next time we do our next anthology for Critical Blast, because we publish books, by the way, prose books.
All right.
Our first book was an anthology called Gods and Services, which I was looking specifically for, stories about forgotten gods. Framework, story was the little shop of curiosities that pops up, disappears, isn't there when you try to go back to return this awful thing you got to get rid of. And you go and you buy a knickknack, but it comes with a god, and the god, who has now been given an offering, i.e., your money, bound to serve you and make your life better, whether you want it to or not, and made better in its eyes. Perhaps not
always the best kind of transaction.
Always the best kind, and you can't get rid of it. So if we do another Gods and Services, I'll say, hey, y'all interested?
Hey, I might say yes.
I hope so. Well, it's either going to be the next another Gods and Services installment, or probably the next installment in The Devil You Know, because that one it sold a lot better. So
okay.
I think we're going to do The Devil You Know better, and but I do want to return to Gods and Services sometime soon. I saw Lovecraftian scroll past my eyeball here while looking at Hallowed Eve, the Investigation. James.
Yes, this is my story. So Hallowed Eve, the Investigation, as it says, is very, very straightforward overall. There's a string of murders, and what you're reading is a single person's retelling of the events based on what they've gathered from their own investigations. I think the unique twist in the relatively simple story structure is the story's meant to be a pastiche to Lovecraft. So I wanted to emulate his prose, both his word choice, the way he structures his stories, some of the stylistic choices, like in what's emphasized and how it's emphasized. Because I wrote the short story just after I had finished reading a collection of H.P. Lovecraft's work. And so
you got squamous creatures running around with
No, I actually did not pull from his mythos at all. I didn't pull any concepts from his mythos. It was purely the structure of his stories and the structure of his prose that I was pulling from. So there are some similar themes, even though I didn't pull the creatures. So there's the idea of you have this normal, seemingly explainable normal phenomena, but there's these sinister undercurrents behind it, or there's these whispers of awful things, and someone goes to investigate, like, oh, it's probably nothing, and then, oh crap, this rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than I thought. That's more of what I pulled from his stories than the actual creatures.
I love this image. It's I can't get the whole thing on one page without shrinking my page down. But this whole Valentine heart and this embraced dead couple, obviously dead. And then I'm not quite sure what's happening here at the base of it, but I bet that had something to do with it because it's there.
Yes. So a small spoiler for the story. That's Asphodel, and not like real world Asphodel. We're talking like the real mythological shit.
Oh, okay.
Like straight out of Hades Asphodel.
I forget what that one translates to, because every one of those L's translates into something.
I don't know. I just know Asphodel's a flower that's very prominent in Greek mythology, particularly with regards to Hades.
My regrets follow you to the grave. Oh. Well, that's...
And my amusement.
Yes.
Ah.
But yeah, art courtesy of Bezel LeBlanc.
You were busy in this one because you have a second story in the anthology as well.
So there should be a little bit more there, but the artist asked to remain anonymous in the campaign, so his name is not included. So second story is sort of an accompaniment to the first one, whereas the investigation is an outside view, like just getting into these events and trying to make heads or tails of it, what's going on. The hunt follows a more omniscient approach, not omniscient, omnipresent approach, in that the frame of the story is all knowing. So you have the background information. You'll have like, oh, we know that spooky stuff's going on. The characters know that what's happening is not natural. And you see a little bit of the background gears of what's happening in the investigation.
Okay.
So whereas I would describe the investigation as a sort of, not necessarily horror story, it's kind of more of like a spooky tale. Hallows Eve the Hunt is a more straightforward action-ish comic.
All right, and that is the sixth and final story so far that we have described, at least.
Correct.
So how big of a book are we looking at here when people play?
Last I counted, at least 55, 60 pages, could be slightly more. So it's going to be a chunky book.
All right, I like that. We have a couple of different covers here.
Yes.
My new mouse is coming. My wheel is like, I scroll down, and it's like the page goes up, and then it's like your car goes into neutral when you park it. It's like, oh, we're going to roll back a little bit again. That's what my mouse is doing. I scroll down, and it rolls up. So we've seen this image of your host, I take it. I mean, is this your framework between the stories? He's having stories told?
Yeah, so I guess I can go more into how the shade operates. So the creature in the cover is called the Samhain Shade. Samhain because Samhain's like the original name for the season from the Celtic mythologies. And the Shade because he's sort of a spirit, specter, whatever you want to call it. The way he operates is, like I said, he embodies the spirit of storytelling. And so what he'll do is in the month leading up to Halloween, he appears around the world and asks people to tell a story. And if the story they tell is acceptable and it's new, he's like, cool, sounds great. Thank you. Appreciate it. If you don't tell him a story, or you don't tell him a story that meets his standards, or tell him a story he's already heard, he gets mad and he will ruin your life and make it really messed up to get an entertaining story out of it. So the way, like, I guess the meta framework is that he is the presenter of these tales. These are some of the tales he's collected.
Okay.
For your macabre enjoyment.
So do we at any point in the Mythoverse, if not in this issue, see him, say, I've heard that story before. Let's make a new one now.
That's part of the crux of my story. It's not exactly how it plays out. It's a little bit more implicit, but yeah. So someone didn't tell the Shade a story and he was mad. So you could argue that my stories are the result of that.
Okay. And then the other cover is, come on. This is the Adobe Kroger Dame Commander Issue 1 Homage Zombified.
Yes. Is there a place I can drop images? Because I could drop an image of the original cover.
You can share screen if you want, or you can drop in the link.
That I can indeed do. I will pull that up in just a second.
Yes, and Michigan looks like Michigan's just a mystical disaster hotspot. Well, you only think that the pipes caused the problem in Flint.
Here. All right.
Listen, you got dogmen running all over the place. Something weird's going on there.
Yep.
You kill a few satanic creatures in the sewers. The icker's going to get in the water and just make it nasty.
Yeah, it takes so long to clean it out too.
Here we go. So.
Okay. Oh, look at that! It looks just like that last cover, except
Yes.
Oh wow, she's alive this time.
Yeah.
And not. I love the implication that the woman she's protecting is now just a pile of guts.
You know, and this I do this, guys. I spend people's money when I'm on these shows.
Oh yes.
If you were of a stretch goal kind of mind, you could make that a lenticular cover that would, like go back and forth from Adobe Kroger zombie, Adobe Kroger zombie, Adobe Kroger zombie. You know what I'm saying? Where you tilt the book and you're seeing one vision.
Yeah.
Not sure how practical it is, but I could run it by Dan.
I'm just throwing stuff out to talk about. I'm not
of course.
Do it, but I have thrown stuff out that people have gone and done, so I keep doing it.
No, I think that's a really fun idea, or maybe like a specialized poster or something.
Oh, well, Brett's saying holographic cover. Well, I wasn't thinking holographic, but if that works too, if you can see it change, yeah, the lenticular is the ones where you can like feel the scratching if you run your nails up and down and literally like
and you tilt it back and forth and it changes. Yeah.
Sometimes they move, sometimes they just change. If for a Halloween effect, you've seen the same thing if you've gone into Spirit Halloween and seen those portraits hanging on the wall that you can buy. And they turn to zombies. Yeah, that kind of thing, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Just with this cover. So, scroll, come on. So let's look at the tiers. Let's get over here and look at some dark green boxes that we won't be able to read. So $5 for a digital.
Yeah.
For over 60 pages. That is a deal.
No, over 100 because you're getting both. Volume 1 and 2.
Oh my gosh! So yeah, okay, that is definitely a deal. I'm not even a digital person, but I'd be tempted on that one just because of the getting both the books. I do know we have a lot of people in the chat who are regulars here who need digital. They can only get digital. So George, Robert, if you're here, dropping $5 wouldn't go amiss on this one to get over 100 pages of Halloween horror story. Delivered, by the way, in October, so it's just in time for Halloween. You guys have, I've seen so many horror stories launched in October because, hey, it's Halloween. Let's, do a Halloween book.
Yeah.
Works better if you're actually getting it by Halloween.
Yeah, we learned our lesson last year. We started the campaign September 14th and planned it end by mid-October. And then we still got the digitals out the day before Halloween, but prints were behind. So our goal this year is have it so that we get the digitals out early October and the prints to our backers in time for Halloween. Yeah,
it's just nicer that way. It's sort of like, it's even worse with Christmas books. I mean, you can enjoy a horror book any time of the year if you're into horror.
Oh, yeah.
But, if you have a Christmas comic book and it's coming out in April.
It feels a little weird.
So here's the next is the digital catch-up pack. So this is if like you've never read the Mythoverse, you want to get started or you're curious. $10, over 350 pages of material digitally.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So you can see, I can just rattle off the list. You'll get Adobe Kroger number 1 and 2. Changeling and Urban Failure Tale, number 1, Mythics 1 and 2, Dropping Out, which is a one-shot comic linked with Adobe Kroger. Narrative Mythological Volumes 1 and 2, which is another sort of anthology that collects our Patreon content, I believe. Brett can correct me on that in chat. Triple Crown is the Mythoverse racing manga, so it's actually stepping away from the supernatural and just say, hey, let's just have a fun racing manga. And then Mytho Chibis is our gag comic. It's like the goofy, non-canon stuff.
Okay, but it's all done with chibis.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone loves the chibis, and you still get volume 1 and 2 of Hallowed Harvest. So, okay, if you guys just came in and pledged that $5 thing, refund that. I never tell you to do that, but do that so you can come back in with the $10 charge and get the full set here. And hopefully you already scrolled down and saw that anyway. Work with me, Mouse, please. $25.
So that's the first print tier. In addition to getting all of the digital content, you will also receive a printed copy of Hallowed Harvest Volume 2.
Okay, so when you say all of the digital content, you're talking about the $10 tier that we just saw and a copy of Volume 2 on paper for $25.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, here's a thought, guys. Have you ever thought about going into crowdfunding to make money?
Well, I don't know. Our goal is to get good stories in people's hand. Money is not the primary goal here.
Obviously.
Brett commented, one of our core principles is maximum bang for minimum buck. And I think that's very true of our campaigns. Generally, you get a lot of stuff for your money.
You're charging the same price for the variant.
So yeah, you can get variant cover. So there's 225 tiers. The first is just the standard. The second is the variant cover. So you can get either or. So that's that. $30 tier is same as the 25. You just get an additional poster. So if not on the rewards, but on the main page, you scroll all the way back up. That first poster from Dylan Fagan, so it was all like the blues and pinks. You get a print copy of that image.
Oh, I like that image too. Although I really, really, really want the Scream. I think the Scream is really your print.
Yeah.
You haven't done that.
So that was one of the posters you could have gotten with the one we did last year.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a new image, but that's pulled.
Yeah, no, that. So My Best Worst Halloween was actually slated to be done or included in last year's anthology, but it wasn't quite finished in the time frame we needed it to be. So we moved it back to this issue.
Okay, but the poster was done with the first book. Just
correct.
The story didn't make it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So again, you'll notice there's a bunch of duplicated tiers. So there's another $30 tier, which is the Adobe Kroger variant cover, or the zombie Adobe cover right, with poster included. And next up is the $35 tier. So that's where you get Hallowed Harvest #1, Hallowed Harvest #2 in print, in addition to all the digital content.
You know, I've thought of this, not right now, but on like several other campaigns that have come on here and had similar offerings where it's like, hey, here's our catch-up tier, here's our catch-up pack. I'm literally wanting to find out what restaurant companies print the labels for those little ketchup things that you get in your restaurant. Because if you would just like put a Mythoverse logo on one and just say, hey, look, it's our ketchup pack.
Nice.
Mythoverse ketchup. No, we'll write that down.
So a little bit of inside baseball for you. We actually have a catalog of in-universe brands. So we can use that for art. So now I'm going to make some kind of ketchup reference now.
Nice.
Got to. Because, everyone's trying to come up with something unique for their book. I've seen people sell socks. I've seen people do 3D prints of characters, 3D prints of motorcycles. One guy's doing spaceships that come out of his book. So yeah, why not? Why not ketchup packs?
And then the next 35 is you get both variants of the Hallowed Harvest Volume 2. So you wouldn't receive the Volume 1, but you get both variants of Volume 2. And then the last 35 is you get the variant and Volume 1, but no standard cover.
Okay. I apologize for the way this mouse is behaving. It is being replaced. It just hasn't arrived in the mail yet.
Be sure to berate it fiercely up till that point.
Computer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So then, again, we have for just $5 more. It's the ketchup pack with poster, so you get the you get a pack of ketchup and a poster.
You
basically.
can't stop
Obviously.
either, can you?
It's in his head now.
Yep. Let's see here. So then there's the $45 where you get both of the Volume 2 covers and then Volume 1 printed. And again, all of this, everything after the $10 tier includes the $10 tier. So no matter what you back at above $10, you will always be getting all that digital content.
Digital library.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Are you taking advantage of the add-on capacity of Kickstarter?
That might be a good idea for future campaigns, just so to clean up the clutter a little bit. Because that is a lot of duplicated tiers. So that's something I can
duplicated, and it's like, we have 5 things, and to make sure that everybody can get everything they want, we have to get 5 times 4 times 3 times 2, that many tiers, just so that there's always a perfect tier. I think it's going to start getting not this campaign as a complaint or anything. I'm just saying that I think campaigns in general are going to start shifting toward here's the book.
Here's all the extra stuff.
A ton of more crap, but it's cool crap, and it's going to be on the page after you buy the book because you want to buy the book. That's what we're here for. You're going to buy the book anyway. What you buy with the book, we'll let you pick a la carte from now on.
Well, that's actually a good piece of feedback. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I tell it to everybody, so it's not like I'm picking on you guys.
No, it is appreciated in any case. So if you scroll back up a little bit, the $90 tiers is where so there's the $50, which is both variants plus poster plus all that fun stuff. $90 is the next big step up, and that's where you're getting a physical library too. $90 you get everything we've printed so far.
Everything in print. Wow. So it's $100 worth of books, almost $100 worth of books. 350 pages total. A weekend well spent, also, is what I call it.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Just stay in your room and read comic books. And you can also get it with the variant cover.
Yep.
And I bet you can get it with both variant covers.
Yep. Poster, both variant covers. I think the 105 is get everything.
So 100, we're almost there.
Yeah, 100 is the Mythoverse print, both variants. So you get all the stuff we published and both variants of Hallowed Harvest Volume 2. And then 105 is you get both variants and the poster.
Both versions of Hallowed Harvest 2, everything else in print, and the poster.
Yep. So, and then if you're cruel and you want to scar your coworkers, your friends, or
neighborhood children,
the $150 tier nets you an extra copy of everything, including Volume 1 and 2.
That's
so
a $30 savings.
If you want to, if you want to scar some children, hand out Volume 1 of Hallowed Harvest to the kids and tell them to read Maze of Dolls.
Yeah.
My first Hallowed Harvest story.
Yes.
And then there's 155, which is, wait a second, you can get the trick or treat pack with the poster.
Yes.
So am I at the bottom now? I think I am.
That's the bottom.
All right. Well, this is, even if I can't get the screen, this is still a cool looking poster here.
Oh yeah. Here, I can share my screen and blow it up big. Give me a sec. I will find it and I will put it on screen.
Thank you, Dragon Multimedia. Good luck with Shift, and thanks for popping in here, guys.
Thank you very much.
And Salem is working on Mythoverse whiskeys. So I guess, ketchup isn't, already in the rearview mirror there. And Salem's going to...
Listen, you got to chase the whiskey with something.
True, yeah.
Pop one open and suck it down like an otter pop.
It could be like that True Blood stuff.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Here.
True Blood.
Blood ketchup.
There we go.
Hang on.
Yes.
I goofed. Hang on. I will fix. Oh, never mind. You can see it. Very good. So there's the image.
Oh yeah. That's now. How big is that poster? Like 11 by 17? Is that like?
Or
comic book
off the
size?
top of my head, I'm not sure. Here, I can get it bigger. If I can.
I mean, I just
do proper
trying to
tab.
figure out what size frame you got to buy.
Yeah, I can message Dan and include that video as like a comment later on the video.
Well, Salem's going to drink something once he reaches the goal, and it came from the Venture Brothers. I've seen the Venture Brothers. That's both hilarious and disturbing.
11 by 17.
Okay, that's cool. That's a decent size there. I've got a poster at home. I've got a frame this next week. That's 22 by 34, twice the width and twice the height, and apparently a bizarre frame size. But so are you guys folding that?
11 by 17. Isn't that standard like paper size?
That's tabloid size.
Tabloid size. So I do not believe it gets folded during shipping because I don't think it's that large, but it might. I'm not 100% sure.
It's larger than your Gemini mailer, says the guy who runs a shipping company.
Gotcha. So yeah, it'll probably end up being folded during shipping.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know exactly how it all works.
If you've got the rubber bands for it, it might
Roll it.
roll tightly and fit beside the book in a Gemini mailer. But I'd test it first, depending on how many other things you've got to mail. Obviously, if you're mailing out your entire catalog or something, it'll be in the box because you're going to use something entirely different at that point. Yeah. So how long have you guys been doing the Mythoverse? What's your anniversary date?
Mythoverse. So the Mythoverse original publication was roughly, I want to say September 2019, or maybe it was September 2018, one of the two.
Okay, so you were getting into crowdfunded comics right about the time they were starting to really blow up.
Yeah, I think so.
Were you? Do you think you would have done it the traditional route if crowdfunding hadn't existed and wasn't becoming as widespread?
Oh, I would not have gotten involved in comic creation at all if I hadn't been involved with the Mythoverse. So it was
but would Mythoverse have gone, to try to go through Diamond or something?
I don't know the answer to that question because I was not a founding member. That would be a better question for Brett, Matt, or Dan.
Well, Brett says that April 28th is Mythoverse Day. So,
well, there we go. There's our answer.
So Brett, you could have grabbed the link and popped in here and discussed.
Yeah, Brett. God.
Although, we do enjoy having somebody in the audience watching. So,
as we always do.
And Jean-Luc Connery is out here asking me for Roy's mind. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, especially when you come in the last bits of the show, dude.
Well, I mean, we could play the trailer from the Kickstarter page. I mean, that's pretty fun.
I could play that. That was I stole that.
Yeah, you stole that for the intro, but now that we might have a larger concurrent audience, then at the very start of the stream, we could play it again.
Let's show it. Let's play it again, Sam. You played it for her. You can play it for me. She can take it. I can.
Are my eyes really brown?
Yeah, they are.
And so it is that in the month preceding that harvest and Sabbath, the Shade, that malignant keeper of lore, ventures into the world of man to collect new tales. Failing to find any of merit, he twists the bonds of fate to create his own, leaving gourds carved with grotesque images of the unfolded events. Nicholas Stent, Unusual Folklore.
Yep, just as good this time as it was the first time.
Ooh.
Yes. Thank you to Lost Lenore for doing the narration work on that.
That's Lenore
Nice.
doing that. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. She did the narration work, and then the actual narration was written by me. It's included in my story.
Yeah, that 3D logo was indeed very sharp, Jean-Luc. So,
Careful,
So, guys,
it's very pointy.
Is there anything about this book that you need to let people know that I didn't ask about?
Well, I think for particularly volume 2, I think we already discussed there is a content warning. May not be the greatest for children, but I'd say like all joking aside, I'd say probably like 15 or 16 plus.
Okay. It won't scar your brain, but maybe don't let your parents catch you reading it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
like the old Warren Vampirellas were when I was 14.
Yeah, I'd say like officially it'd probably be like 17 plus, but realistically 15 or 16.
All right. Very cool. And it is not yet funded, guys. We're about halfway there. We're over halfway there. 13 days to go. So this is Kickstarter, folks. This is not Indiegogo. They don't get another 30-day shot on this one. So if we could get 500 plus 116, $616.
Ooh,
actually,
so close.
If we could get another $666, that would just be
Oh yeah, maybe somebody should drop out and get back in.
yes. Do that. Drop out and get back in with a higher tier.
Yeah, obviously.
You can always put like $666. I think that would be funny if somebody just.
It would be.
That would be
let's
hilarious.
say, what are we short? $512. $512 tier. We're gonna make something.
$500 tier cameo.
$500 tier gets you a recording of the entire book read by Kermit the Frog.
Yeah. Oh wait, hang on. Wasn't that something we might actually do as a Kermit recording of my story?
I think we were thinking about making that a stretch goal.
Yeah, so there are a couple more things under the hood that we're planning on rolling out in the next week or so. That'll be like added into the campaign to just for a little extra value.
Audio stories would be fun. I mean, you guys are already mixed media, so go with the audio book. I know some people are doing like soundtracks. This is the soundtrack to the book. I'm like, yeah, I some people like that. I'm like, no, doesn't really fit with me. I don't listen to music while I'm reading something. I read the thing and I make up my own soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Brett says that you guys had never considered going through Diamond, although with the shape Diamond currently is in, that could possibly change in the future. Yeah, because if you decide to go with Diamond right now, you might be their biggest client. IDW dropped out this week. Well, they didn't say, IDW drops Diamond. They said IDW goes to Penguin Putnam, which is the same thing as saying, guess what?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very PR way to drop the F-bomb, really.
Yeah.
But I think people have been waiting to drop those F-bombs on Diamond for a long, long time.
Oh, we have every other Saturday show we have the LCS guys on, and regularly these shop owners talked about, they'd order like 5 books from Diamond, and they'd get 4 books in one box and one book in one box. So it's like,
What?
Because here's a $4 book that you paid $3 for, and it costs $7 to ship it.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to feel too bad for Diamond.
I know. When I saw that IDW post this week, I was like, I retweeted it. Says, anybody done a wellness check on Steve Jeppy? See if he's okay.
Oh, maybe wait a day to make the call.
Yeah, because
just to drink it in for a minute.
I saw it happening when Diamond said, yeah, you know what, we're not going to ship books, which is what caused Michael Tierney to close his 2 stores. Michael's one of our LCS guys, closed his 2 stores in Little Rock because he didn't have a shutdown. COVID didn't shut him down, and Forrester's here to say goodbye.
Hello, Forrester.
Hi, Forrester. Bye, Forrester.
Yep.
We were just kind of going into the last bits of the show here, but yeah, it's like Diamond said, guess what? We're not going to ship books. We're going to close things down, and we'll be back in September. And then DC said, hey, you know what? We're going to be shipping books in late July because we're moving over to Lunar. And Diamond's like, did we say September? No. we can get you out by this time. But
How the turntables have spun.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I don't know.
A tern is a bird, right? I mean, it's like an Arctic tern. It's just So if you pluck one and cook it and put it on a platter, has the tern been tabled? It could be.
I think it very well might be.
Yeah, how
the bottom line, having Diamond get kicked in the shins makes me feel a great deal of Schadenfreude.
Well, Diamond has
it had it coming.
Yeah, they've not been the best friend to the really small indies because if you don't have enough books, they just say, yeah, we're not even going to put you in the catalog, which means that you're not going to have any more books because they were the only catalog.
Yep.
And yes, I do remember Heroes World, Brett. I remember Friendly Franks. I remember a lot of different distributors all around the country, and you would pick the one closest to you and just go. You would drive from your LCS to the distributor to get your books and then drive them back to your store because they were that close and there were that many. It wasn't a matter of waiting for a FedEx truck to show up the day before. Although it was kind of weird because if you, again, Sparta, Illinois, everything printed there, the closer you were to Sparta, the sooner NCBD came that week. Because it wasn't like this agreed upon, lock it up till Wednesday. Tuesday, Central United States was New Comic Book Day. A little further out, it was like, hey, it's Wednesday, it's New Comic Book Day. And then Thursday furthest out. So as soon as they came in, they were put on the shelves and sold.
Yep.
Oh, WWE has a better Glassdoor rating than Diamond. Yeah. And he's got a joke. Well, come on in and tell your joke, Brett, before we shut out here. Forrester, what do you do there at the Mythoverse?
Unspeakable things.
Just illustration.
Yeah.
I think I've drawn something for pretty much everybody.
That is unspeakable because that's not lettering or writing. So
Yeah, he's our resident Golden Age art imitator. Or not really imitator. Like, he does a really good job with Golden Age and up to like 70s, 80s style art.
Well, yeah, that's the best art. I know, you kids in the 90s. No, sorry. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and George Perez. That's the base. That's the baseline. Oh,
Listen, I ain't about to trash talk George Perez.
that was the joke. Yeah, I mean, well, he's the master. One of the masters. If you were to talk about Leonardo and Raphael, and I'm not talking about the turtles.
Naturally. I can like my modern weeb stuff and still appreciate the classics.
Yeah, exactly. I can't.
Fair enough.
But I can sit back with I can go back before that and just pick up an issue of old Teen Titans and say, look at that Nicholas Cardy and Bob Haney stuff. Yeah, drink it in. But I'll tell you what.
I've been working on collecting the new Teen Titans run that was it Joe Perez and Marv Wolfman?
Yeah.
I've been working on collecting that lately.
That was some good stuff.
Classic stuff.
And let me find something here. Because it was 1985. I'm serious, guys. The longer I do this, the more I feel like Sophia on the Golden Girls. Picture it, 1942, Sicily.
We'll all get there eventually.
Oh, I know. Let me stop sharing my.
Barring horrible accidents or encounters with the Samhain Shade where I have no ideas.
All right, so here we go. Picture it. 1985, Spot,
Illinois. That's a pretty heavy mutton chop game there, man.
You know what? It's because George Perez was drawing Jericho that I did that, because I thought I could pull
nice.
It off.
It's okay. Around that time, my grandpappy was wearing that too.
This was in my high school yearbook. This was in my senior section. But you can see off to the left here in the corner.
I see it.
Those are those Teen Titans. They were just starting to do Baxter prints. See that full set of Secret Wars hanging on the wall there?
Hey, there's the black suit.
That would have put my son through college, but I don't have them now. Here's the wedding issue for Donna Troy, the 4 Machine Men books, and then of course right above here there's the New Teen Titans Annuals 1 and 2, first appearance of the Vigilante, one of my favorite characters at the time. So yeah, I was, but if you're getting the Teen Titans for me I got into it again with the Nick Cardy, Bob Haney days, when it was like real rough drawn, real Joe Kubert style. Later on, it kind of got more generic house ad, but those early ones, those were some real good stuff. And I know that a lot of Golden Age stuff is drawn to it's not very detailed, especially if you're looking at those Simon & Schuster Supermans. But if you ever get a chance to see some Mac Raboy covers, if you just sometimes Google Mac Raboy and Captain Marvel Jr. The covers he did, people aren't topping that even today. No one has. Just really detail. Raboy, yes, MacRaboy.
Okay, all right. It looks like I found a Mac Raboy covers. Oh wow. Okay, I see them.
That's 1940.
That's like halfway to being an Alex Ross painting.
Yeah, exactly. So he was doing that in the 1940s, and everybody else was like doing these hurried sketches and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a Captain Marvel book. That was back when the Big Red Cheese was still being drawn like a cartoon character.
Yes.
So it really made Captain Marvel Jr. stand out. Anyway, appreciate you being here, and
thank you for having us.
I wish that I could say that I saw the campaign jump during the show, but as is often the case, we've done nothing for you.
Well,
Not entirely
I mean,
nothing.
if people watch these streams after the fact, there's always a chance.
There is always, I do get a lot of people watching them after. I watch the numbers, so the videos climb then. We do our best. We do our best. We try to get people on, and we try to learn about you guys and what you're doing. I'm told that I'm boring, which is fine. So I don't talk about too much about me. I try to talk about you guys. So if the show's boring, it's your fault.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Clearly.
But no, seriously, guys, thank you so much for bringing the Mythoverse over to our show tonight and to our viewers. Best of luck with that. And I will say that if you want to get in on that, the Mythoverse link is right below this video. It's the very first line in the description. Please do click on it, scroll through those tiers, find the one that's best for you. If you're a digital collector, like many of our viewers are, that $10 collection of everything, I don't see how you can resist getting 300 pages for $10 digitally. That will give you a lot of reading on your device.
350.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. It gets bigger every time I mention it. So click on that. Won't ask you to like the video, because if you don't like the video, what can I do? But I will ask you to share it, because that's really what it's about. If you could share the video and get this project out in front of more eyeballs, so your friends will see, hey, you sat through this, now you have to too.
Check out this jerk.
Yeah, they might like, the Mythoverse. So, show this to your friends and ask them to do the same. That's how this whole viral thing spirals out and gets eyeballs. So with that, folks in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight. We don't have a show without you. And as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.